I would really like to look through your books. She said you can have any of them you want. And I said, well, I'll come back and do that. And I picked up a pair of silver earrings that was on a table, and I said, I'd like to buy these. She said, just take them. And she said, take anything you see on this table. So I picked up some pretty linen bath towels, small ones. And what else did I take? I took 3 things. Anyway, I had every intention of coming back because I needed to get in church. It was for sale for $72,000, and there's 6 acres.
Oh my gosh.
And
why didn't you call of all of them? It's in 10,000.
So I called up the woman in the National Preservation Society, and she was absolutely horrible. She said, you have to understand that if you buy this property, you can't even cut down a tree without our permission. And she said, every single renovation that you make, we have to approve. And you can't make any renovations other than restoring the original. And she went on to name the things that had to be done. And even, $72,000 would have been just a drop in the bucket to what that house
by the time
would have taken.
Yeah.
And there was an old barn or shed that was just about ready to collapse at the edge of the woods. And I said, do you mean that I wouldn't be able to burn that down? She said, oh no, you would have to restore that.
Did somebody buy it then? And
Yes.
They're doing it?
Well, if it's and I know it's the same place, it still looks to me like there's a lot of junk on the porch.
They have not.
It's preserved junk.
They have not put new screen. They simply took the ragged screen out, and they are leaving it as a open porch. So I just don't know.
Everyone, there's absolutely no rush on this. You can take this up front and they'll take care of it.
Across the street.
You're welcome. It's not a problem. Hope you enjoyed everything. I hope you come see us again.
Great.
Across the street from that house is what I think was a store.
It was Blanchard's store.
It was the general store. So when Mother would say that you all walked through the woods to the store, was that the store?
That's the store, and we would carry eggs for barter.
Right.
You didn't need money if you had eggs. They would take your eggs.
I thought that had to have been a store. In fact, I may even remember it as a store.
So did you ever kill chickens?
I never killed them.
You never killed a chicken. You just picked their eggs then. Who killed the chickens? Did Miss Susie
There was
kill
always
chickens?
somebody around to
Was it a
chop
man's
off the
thing?
head. It was a man thing.
But you still had to clean it, I
Oh yes, I picked the feathers, but I never could chop off a head. It's a horrible.
Have you done it?
No. I have seen it done.
You have seen it, yeah.
Even in my childhood, Mother was still having to, the chickens we had when I was little were still killed in the backyard.
I don't have any.
But Vera did, didn't she? Or maybe Vera didn't, but they had chickens in the backyard and then they would go do that.
Well, maybe Vera might have. I don't know whether Mother did or not. I can't remember. I just remember it happened in the backyard. I know that.
This is a nice park with the gazebo, and you can have picnics, as you see some people are doing, which I have done. And this is Blackbeard's territory, Christine.
Blackbeard?
This is Blackbeard's territory.
Blackbeard?
He used to come in to this port because he was in cahoots with Governor Eden, and he was British appointed governor of this city at the time. This was the first capital of North Carolina.
Edenton?
Yes.
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 Our part of
And I'm going to settle up with you today before you leave, and also I have your books, and I have some money from Stephen. And the story is that when Blackbeard had a successful activity, he would come in here to pay booty to the governor for protection, and he would stop at the dram tree, which is over behind the Barker house, and give his crew a dram of rum in celebration.
That's how they got the name of that restaurant.
That's why the restaurant was named the Dram Tree. And the trees that are called the Dram Tree is still out there in the Sound.
Blackbeard he frequented this area, Ocracoke. That's where he died. Where is it? But how did he die? Did somebody kill him?
Yes, he was killed by a patriot named Hess. No, that was who killed Alfred Ness. Seems to me, I read it recently, but he was killed by a patriot who was a forerunner of a CIA or FBI guy.
And he was beheaded.
He was beheaded.
The anti-pirate squad.
But then you and Mother really never came to England with your children.
It was too far away.
Too far away.
Did you ride horses though? No, you didn't have even horses to
We
ride?
had horses, but I didn't ride. That wasn't a ladylike thing to do for a Baptist who read the Bible on Sunday.
Side saddle.
Can't you? But you had riding pants and boots when you were young. You did that then
I
after
did
you
that
got
in Hawaii.
So then it was okay because you were away from home.
Thank you, Zoe.
You're welcome. So did the guys ride? Horses were just not just
Horses were work animals.
Okay.
But there's that picture, you know, of your mother and daddy in front of a car.
That was probably Arthur Hoffa's car when he was coming down to Fort Vera.
So they never had a car.
Yes, my father had a Chevrolet, one of the first Chevrolets, and he was a man who never took care of anything. So one day he ran in the ditch.
That's where the car stayed?
Oh, wow.
I never heard that. Didn't somebody want to get it out?
Never did.
I tell you,
You just walk away. Troubles.
What was that, like the 30s?
That would have been before the Depression. That would have been the early 30s. 20s, late 20s, I would think.
Where did he get enough money to buy a car?
Well, you could buy a car for a few $100s. You know what your father and I paid for our first car?
Yeah, but you still, it was relative.
We paid $1,800 for a brand new four-door Dodge in 1946.
We paid
I paid
$1,600 for his bug in the 60s.
Yeah, I paid $1,200 for mine this year. But I have a feeling that if he had money, he just went on and spent it too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because he sold the farm, he came to Edenton,
Right.
left Edenton, had some money,
Right.
went to Cisco, had a store, and then he married grandmother, and she had a farm, and so he was set for life.
Set for life.
Isn't that about the sum?
And you know, you've heard that Indians, East Indians especially, have many children because they want the security of someone to take care of them in their older age. And that's exactly his philosophy. My father thought, I have 7 children. Why on earth do I need to think about my own future? And he got exactly what he asked for, because at my mother's funeral, which I did not attend, I'm told that he was told by Norma, "All right, Papa, pack your suitcase. I'm taking you home with me today." And he did. He put some clothes in a suitcase. He went home with her from the funeral and lived there until he died.
And that was 10 years or so, 8 years or so.
And when he got to her house, she treated him like a king. Her husband was immediately moved from the head of the table, and her papa was put there. And her papa was given the best bedroom in the house. And when he died,
Who is this?
this was my father,
I know, but who is this?
his oldest daughter, his oldest child. And she had earned her crown in heaven, and I'm quite sure she's wearing it grandly. When he died, I was living in England, so I didn't go to his funeral either. But I did send her a contribution toward the expenses. And she wrote me a letter and said he had $2 and some cents.
That's what he had to his name?
That's what he had. And that's all he wanted. That's all he wanted.
He was looked after.
He was looked after. And the same thing happened with Albert Morris. When he died, I did not go to his funeral either. I was in Pennsylvania. But I called up Barham Funeral Home in Eatonton, and I said, how much is owed for his funeral? And they told me, and I wrote a check and sent it to them. And I had never been, nobody ever asked me, will you pay for his funeral? But I did.
That was your brother.
Half brother. I paid for his complete funeral in the cemetery. So I feel like I've contributed. But the genes in both the Brinkley and the Kraft families are that the women are strong and the men are not.
Well,
Women are
that's a
smart.
statement of fact.
Right, that's a statement of fact, Christine. The women are strong in our family. And it's actually, I would say, in my own family, my daughters are far stronger than my sons. In every way. More aggressive, more assertive,
Strong-headed.
bullheaded, and
Social graces, financial security.
much more so than my sons.
Yes.
And yet every one of my sons is highly educated. Stephen has a PhD. You never know it, but he does. Ted has 3 degrees from MIT. John has a master's degree. They're just not.
Well, John's doing fine. He got student of the year.
John was student of the year.
Did he?
Teacher of the year.
I bet he is a very, very good teacher. He is the dearest. Just is so dear. John really is.
John is very, very easy to get along with. Stephen is not. John is, well, we were talking this morning. She said Nathan is a slob, and I said John is too.
You couldn't tell that by this closet. That room was neat. Or did you do
Oh,
all
I put the closet. They won't last, huh?
the room was.
Yeah.
John and I have arguments all the time because I don't like the whole idea of paying rent. It's absolutely appalling to me that anybody would pay rent year after year after year instead of paying on a mortgage for a piece of property to own.
Kristen, she'd rather buy a piece of land than rent a boat slip.
And, and John,
Does he move a lot?
no, he taught in Atlanta for about 10 years, and then chose to answer a call to go to a rural school because they wanted experienced language teachers in the rural school. So he went to the North Georgia mountains.
Wow.
And so he did buy a house in Atlanta. And I went to visit him in his house in Atlanta. And it was absolutely the biggest mess I ever put my foot into. It was absolutely the most disorganized, unkept place. And so he got tired of maintenance. And he sold it at a loss and went back to what he prefers, which is an apartment where he can keep his 3 cats that get up on the dining room table while he eats in a chair. And so he went to Chattanooga and did the same thing. He has an apartment and is very happy with his 3 cats in the apartment. And I keep saying, buy some property. You're going to be there at least 10 more years. I think it's 10 or 11 or 12 before he can retire. And I said, buy some property so that you will have a place, you know, you're just wasting money. He didn't want to take care of it.
He doesn't want to be bothered.
He doesn't want to be bothered.
Just purely and simply.
He doesn't want to keep up with it. He doesn't like maintenance.
But I know he's a good teacher. He has to be a very, very
He
fine,
is. He's working
caring.
with hands all the time. He is.
What was it he said he's doing this summer? I couldn't hear real well
he
the
should
other
have.
night.
I wish he could have done his
Have you
act for you.
No, you don't.
I told Kristen, oh, there he comes with his puppet. And Kristen's like, no. Gotcha.
His hobby is ventriloquism.
Did he bring it? He did.
And he,
Harry's every family get together, we have to.
like me, we are both big fans of Jimmy Carter. We think he's probably the most moral man who ever lived in the White House, for one thing.
Absolutely.
But he did have impure thoughts.
He admitted it, though. He made confession. And so John just likes Jimmy Carter, and he reads all of his books, and so he's been going down to Plains and looking around the national park, which is his home farm, and there's a commissary there. You know, it's a country store, but it's called a commissary. And so he asked if they would like a ventriloquism performer for the summer for tourists, and they have engaged him
Well, I guess I did understand.
to do
I wasn't sure if I understood
to
exactly what he
do
was saying.
a program. I think it's for 1 week or 2. I'm not sure which, in the commissary. So he's got a Jimmy Carter puppet. You know, all these teeth. And he is going to do a Jimmy Carter presentation for the tourist. And he gets room and board. He gets room and board.
Right, he said he wasn't.
He's got a Jimmy Carter T-shirt. He showed me his T-shirt. And
Whatever excites you, right?
Susan said yesterday, she said she really admired him for doing what he's doing, even though she doesn't like it.
There's something.
Barbie played good and about the name of it? Ink Barbie.
So what age group does he teach?
He teaches the German language.
Everyone sit down, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, let me know.
Always getting older.
Well, if you want to ride with Kristen and David to point out the houses, I will just follow behind you.
You don't know where to go.
Well, I'll follow you all if you want to point out the houses.
She could ride with us.
You don't need to, I don't need to show them the houses. They can just look around and see them all
Well, are you
around.
all gonna ride around here afterwards? So,
If you want to go to the information center, there is a book written by a man named James Courier, who moved to Edenton from Scotland and is absolutely fascinated with the place. He lives on the waterfront here somewhere, and I haven't seen the book, but I've read about it, and I think I'll stop and buy a copy. It's interviews that he has made with the old-timers of this area. You might be
I saw that.
interested.
Yeah, but I wondered about that book. I've read about it or
I
seen
think you
something
can buy a
about
copy at the
it. You mind
information.
stopping there?
I'd like to stop there.
I would. There's a free nap.
Oh, well, great.
We're stopping at the visitor center, and then we'll go around to the cemetery, and then y'all are coming back here to...
Oh, okay. So you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay.